All right, everybody, we got the AFC North today. Justin, what you got for these Ravens, man?
Oh man, that's easy. Lamar Jackson, man, you got to start with that big boy right there.
Got
He
to.
can run, he can throw. Yeah, the hottest quarterback easily of last year, man. Easily. The guy is like a human highlight
Highlight
reel.
reel.
He touches the football field. I mean, people's ankles just they just ain't
Seem to
there
be
anymore.
falling
They're just
apart.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just gone. And then the run game that they have in Baltimore is probably a staple for them. They can run the RPO, and Lamar is even when he makes the wrong read. I believe, one of his highlight reels is he makes the wrong read in a Chiefs game during the season, and everybody was super hyped about it. And he just jukes the defender out of his socks, and the guy is just left pretty much on his knees, just
Mhm.
trying to find his ankles. But
Mhm.
the guy's an absolute stud. Uh, Came out second year, surprised everybody, I think, with how unreal he was. People thought he really couldn't throw. I truly believe he's got the touch. He's learned a lot. I believe he's fixed the mechanics that he used to have problems with in college. If
Okay.
if you watch the way he used to throw the ball in college, he's changed a lot as he's come through the NFL. He's had proper teachers. He's not having coaches just say, "Hey, freestyle and wild and out, and just do what you do." But he's been working on his throwing motion. He's been doing well. He's got the offensive line up front to protect him.
He does.
He has a problem there. Mark Ingram's holding it down, and now you're adding J.K. Dobbins into the mix. I mean, those guys are unreal,
They can run the football.
unreal to have in the backfield.
They can run the
Absolutely, they can
football.
run the football. I think J.K. Dobbins will add a lot to the third down running back situation. I think he'll be kind of a screen guy coming out. Um, I mean, he's probably will get. He might get two. He might get a lot. I think the Ravens will probably go 50-50. They'll probably have a little trio running back
Running
situation,
back
but I think
by
J.K.
committee.
Dobbins.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a little committee, but J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram will get the majority. I think Gus Edwards is going to kind of get pushed to the side. He may start out as part of the game plan, and he'll probably get phased out, like some third string running backs end up getting phased out.
Sure.
But um, let's talk about the speedster, Marquise Brown, unreal speed. Miles Boykin, I don't really know too much about him. I think he's pretty good. Willie Snead is still out there. I believe he's actually the oldest receiver the Ravens have at 28. He's the most veteran receiver that they have. So he's the one that most of these younger guys are learning from. And I mean, I think that's great. Lamar's got so much youth around him. I'm sure they vibe well. This offense is unreal, man. Um,
And
let's
hopefully the
get moving.
pass game can keep developing. They drafted Devin Duvernay this year. They drafted a couple other wide receivers, adding some speed to that mix. So hopefully they can keep stretching the field.
Yeah, I think I actually looked at Devin Duvernay. I'm not sure if he's going to be more of a project for the Ravens or if he's going to actually be included in the game plan as like a slot guy.
Okay.
So we'll kind of see what happens with that. They've got a lot of youth at that position, man. So I'm
That's good.
not I'm not sure if he'll probably almost more or less redshirt at the NFL level. He's
Okay.
going to sit there for a minute. I
Okay.
think. I don't think he'll touch the field much. He'll
Okay.
be he'll be in the rotation, but we'll see. But I actually, this is my biggest take on the Ravens. We both know their offense is unreal. Lamar's out there. He's got speed on the outside. He's got running backs. He's got a decent, if not good, offensive line. The biggest change for the Ravens is their defense. Their defense is good. Their defense was good last year. They made a playoff run, but I think their biggest change up front, and I think it's going to absolutely change the Ravens' offense, is Calais Campbell.
Change the
Picking
defense. Yeah. Calais Campbell for sure.
Absolutely. It's going to change it. Yeah, it's going to change the defense completely. Calais Campbell in the middle. He probably won't play necessarily in the middle. He's probably going to play at like a defensive end slot position, but that is a big man.
He's big and he's still
Pe-
doing it at a high level. Yeah.
yeah. And then, drafting Patrick Queen, drafting Malik Harrison, they're most likely both going to start in the middle. A little duo linebacker youth situation there. I think this defense with Earl Thomas leading the way is going to be even better than they were, which is actually scary to say
It
that the
is.
Ravens even got better
It's
because
scary.
they were unreal last year everywhere.
Yeah.
They played defense, they played offense, but and that youth picking up Calais Campbell, which I actually believe is even to a team that made a playoff run was probably one of the biggest upgrades
Right on.
for a team over the free agency period.
Right
I
on.
believe they traded for him. I'm not exactly sure what they traded for him, but I'm not too sure on that part. But you got Earl Thomas holding it down in the back end. He's going to lead this team. Marcus Peters out in the
Marcus
corner.
Peters. Yeah.
Yep, Marcus Peters. So this team is going to be drastically improved on defense. I think you've got
That's
a
a scary
leader up
thought.
front.
Yeah. It is. It's
Yeah,
scary.
you got a leader up front with Calais Campbell. You got youth in the middle getting taught by Earl Thomas. I mean, Earl Thomas. How many Pro Bowls that guy got already?
A bunch.
I mean, that guy's unreal. So I think this defense is going to be the staple of next year. People are going to be trying to prepare for Lamar. They get so hyper focused on him, but this defense is going to be hard to beat, and they're going to make it hard for you to beat them.
Sure.
So they've
Sure.
got speed to cover people. They've got speed in the middle to fill the run. Play a little zone or blitzing. Um, but this defense is going to be absolutely unreal for the
My biggest question
Baltimore
for the
Ravens.
defense, man, is do they have any elite pass rushers? Yeah, it's I mean, they're going to be tough up the middle. They're going to be tough to run against, but can they get after the
Yeah.
quarterback? They
I
might be.
think,
Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
I do think that this team is definitely built to stop the run, but they've got so much speed at the linebacker position. They're gonna bring people. They're
Okay.
they're not a sit back and wait kind of defense. They're not a 3-4 that just likes to drop everybody.
Sure.
Most defenses bring four, but I think they're going to run a lot of stunts up front. I think that's what helps the Ravens is they're going to run a lot of stunts up front, bring pressure, try to confuse these offensive lines. And if these offensive lines aren't very good, they're going to struggle against this team because that quarterback's going to be looking for receivers because they can cover on the back end.
That's
The
true.
problem is stunts take a little time to get there, and I think they'll have it honestly.
And then when I look at Lamar Jackson, the last question I have, the one thing that keeps him from being considered the greatest quarterback is, can he consistently beat you from the pocket?
Yeah,
The Ravens got down versus the Titans, and Lamar Jackson had to throw him back into the game, and he couldn't do it.
yeah.
And so I know he led the NFL in touchdown passes and all that. I know he's elite when it comes to being an athlete. Can he kind of keep taking that next step as a thrower of the football? And
Yeah.
they're trying to add wide receivers around him, trying to progress those young guys. So hopefully they, continue to develop so Lamar can take that next step there.
I think that was one of the hardest games Lamar probably played last year. But I mean, you got to imagine this guy went 14-2 as a second year
Sure,
starter, or
sure,
well, really his first year. But he got thrown in the mix a little bit. But I mean, first year fully at the helm,
right,
nobody in his ear. He's running the show. I mean, the guy went 14-2 coming out the gate.
absolutely.
So, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Titans just had the time of possession on them. They ran the ball down their
Oh, they
throats.
did. Derrick Henry beasted that game for sure.
Yeah, and so they're gonna be better with Calais Campbell up front. I
Okay.
think that's gonna help them a lot. I think having the little youth, the young speed linebackers is gonna help them a lot. Um, man, this defense is going to be hard to run on. I think next year. I
Sure.
think Calais Campbell truly will change that front because he's not just Calais Campbell. He's not just what is he like 6'8", three
Yeah,
hundred pounds.
something like that. Yeah.
Like he's a big boy, but I mean I think he's a leader as well, and he's going to teach these guys how to be a not. They're going to teach. He's going to teach these guys how to be phenomenal pass rushers, phenomenal run stoppers. I think he was a big part of the Jacksonville Jaguars'
There you go.
way, and he kind of led that front. And he had a lot of young guys behind him in that 3-4. So I think he's going to be really, really good for them, and I think he's literally going to change that front. So I don't know if that is going to happen again. Derrick Henry's going to have to prove me wrong.
Right.
He might. He's a sledgehammer.
He
We know
might.
that,
He
but
might.
we will definitely find out, man.
Yeah. Ravens may get a chance in the playoffs to get some revenge. We'll see.
Absolutely,
We'll see. We'll
absolutely.
see. All right, man. Well, let's jump right into the Bengals real quick. The Bengals
The
are
Bengals.
new quarterback, same team, man. It's they the first overall draft pick, Joe Burrow. The man absolutely deserved, the 2019 Heisman Trophy. National champion. He had one of the best seasons ever. And none of that's going to translate to the NFL because he doesn't have a team around him. He doesn't have an offensive line, doesn't have a defense. He still has plenty of wide receiver. Probably the best thing I'm hearing for the Bengals is that AJ Green is back and healthy. Right, AJ
Yeah,
Green, this is a guy maybe some people have forgot about, but he's still probably a top 5, at least top 10 wide receiver in the league when he is healthy. They drafted T Higgins in the second round out of Clemson. T Higgins was their go-to guy at Clemson. John Ross did opt out of the season, the speedster. He started off really hot last season. And then they do still have Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's been there for a long time, been productive. The
right.
skill positions are fine around Joe Burrow. They've got Joe Mixon at running back. They still have, Giovanni Bernard. They've got plenty of guys, but man, they didn't do anything to address their offensive line. And I just, you look at Joe Burrow, he's got plenty of talent. This is a smart dude. He's very accurate with the football. I don't know that it's going to matter as far as if we're talking about, are they going to win more games next year? This is a team that's 2-14, and I don't know if it's going to help much having a new rookie quarterback. They brought in a lot of guys on defense. They signed a bunch of free agents on defense, led by Trey Waynes. Is probably the best player they picked up. But it just, it's none of the guys that they brought in were impact guys. I mean, these are depth guys. These are guys who, they may be starters, but I don't see their defense being much better either. And so, you're sitting there. This was a 2-14 team last year. Are they going to win more games? I really don't know. You gotta, unfortunately for Joe Burrow, you gotta kind of take the whole Corona thing into account too here. His rookie year, and he's going to be thrown into the fire week 1.
Yeah,
And there's just, he's not going to get as many reps as he would in a normal year. He's not going to get the preseason time. He's just straight to the wolves week 1. This coaching staff last year, who knows? They went 2-14 in their first attempt at it as the Bengals coaching staff. Do they get better in year 2? It's hard to tell. It really is. I think Joe Burrow is a talented quarterback. I think he's an upgrade. I just don't know that it'll matter. In the win column this year, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference.
I think that Joe Burrow is almost the exact same person as Andy Dalton.
Okay.
I think he looked like him, maybe not necessarily in the college film of Andy Dalton, but I do think he reminds me of Andy Dalton in the NFL.
Okay.
Andy Dalton has, he's had receivers around him now. If they've stayed healthy, is up to chance. But I don't think the Bengals have always struggled up front. They, for some reason, have never addressed their offensive line. They just continue with guys. They just kind of plug and play. Their offensive line coach is probably doing the best he can. I honestly think.
Sure.
I can't remember the last. I think Xavier Suafilo is a former Cowboy, and they picked him up a couple years ago. It's like these guys don't really seem invested in drafting good, like top tier offensive line. They
Sure.
seem to just try to draft weapons and win with that.
Sure.
Um,
And,
they
and to that note, though, they did draft Jonah Williams last year in the first round. Jonah Williams did get hurt, missed the whole season, so he is coming back. He is a first round talent type of guy. Coming off an injury, not sure there. He may be a question mark, or he may be a huge upgrade. I'm not sure.
yeah
But they didn't do anything else this year to really help really address that offensive line.
yeah I think they're still going to struggle up there. I think Joe Burrow is going to reap the downfall of that, and
Absolutely.
he's gonna end up running for his life a lot in the NFL. And this NFL is gonna tear him apart. When you can't stay protected by your offensive line, and maybe they surprise us, but I really don't think this offensive line is going to do a well enough job to keep
Yeah.
a rookie quarterback clean in the
Yeah.
backfield. He's going to be running a lot. He's going to be throwing on the run a lot. He's got a couple highlights. This guy can definitely throw on the run,
He
but
can for sure.
at the NFL level, when you're throwing on the run, unless you're like elite of the elite, you're taking a big risk throwing that ball downfield. And rookies like to take chances. I don't know if Joe Burrow's got the how do you say the finesse that a lot of these guys do. He's definitely not Patrick Mahomes, that's for sure. Coming out
Not
and
at
just
all. Yeah.
just slinging it everywhere. He just can't do it. I think T
Not at all.
Higgins is a massive upgrade for them. I really like T Higgins. I don't know how much of an impact he will have because rookie quarterback. You can't really do much there. And then I agree with you on the defense, man. This defense is kind of lackluster in changes.
Lamar Jackson put him on spin cycle last year, and it's
Yeah,
they didn't get any better.
Lamar put everybody on spin
He
cycle.
he
We can't
did he did.
everybody.
This is
It
true.
didn't matter what team he played,
This is
but
true.
when you got to play twice a year, you just look twice as dumb. So
I'm
we'll
excited
see.
to watch Joe Burrow play. I am. I just
I am as well. I
I
am
don't know
definitely
that
as well.
I don't know that he's got enough around him right now. So hopefully,
Yeah,
they didn't address it this year. Hopefully for the future for the Bengals, they make an emphasis on bringing in linemen. Help this man out.
yeah,
I bet you Joe Mixon would like to have some linemen in front of him too. So
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
man,
sure that would help a lot.
it would.
But I think Joe Mixon's a really good running back, and he's just been again struggling
Yeah,
behind a
he's
struggling
been a
offensive line.
Bengal. Yeah,
Yeah, and that always hurts.
for
But
sure.
let's keep moving, man.
Okay,
Let's go to the Steelers.
right into the
What is
Steelers.
the easiest thing to talk about with the Steelers is does Big Ben come back, and does he? Well, okay, we know he's coming back, but does he return to Big Ben form? Uh, I actually don't think Big Ben comes back and returns to form.
Okay.
I don't think he's. I think he's kind of. There's rumors that he's coming out of camp or he's coming out of off season. Even through Corona, he's coming back slimmer than he's ever been. But I don't think it's enough to help him.
Okay.
The time bug hits quarterbacks harder than others, and I think it's hit him pretty hard. I think
Okay.
he's not going to bounce back as well as he has. He's got a fantastic tight end with Eric Ebron and I believe Vance McDonald. Um, they've never struggled in the offensive line. Their offensive line, Steelers have done a phenomenal job. Mike Tomlin has done a phenomenal job keeping that offensive line not necessarily healthy, but strong. They're always plug and play kind of guys. They draft well. I'm sure they're probably a lot of. I believe one of my favorite. I have to say this. I got to give this guy commendations. I believe Alejandro Villanueva is like one of my favorite offensive lines, just because I believe he's a veteran and like he got deployed like a couple of years ago. So I mean, but this offensive line is just filled with studs. Uh, Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he actually had kind of a down year last year. I think he's going to do well. I think he's going to have bounce back, have a good season. I think Ben Roethlisberger is actually going to hold him back.
Okay.
Um, the guy is amazing. He's a absolute steal as a route runner. Um, I'm wondering if Chase Claypool, big body receiver, is going to do well with Big Ben as well out there. I think he'll actually take the number 2 spot by the end of the season. I think he's going to be a huge asset to Big Ben, especially in the red zone. So this guy can probably even play some tight end. He's a big boy. I wouldn't say necessarily like tight end size, but you can run him out in the slot, run him close to the line, maybe run him in motion and bring him to block. He's going to be a great addition to this offense. Um, but I really think Big Ben is the biggest question mark for this team,
Okay.
especially offensively.
I actually feel almost like complete opposite that Big Ben will come back and an 8-8 Steelers team is
Yeah,
gonna, you can't get worse with Big Ben coming back. I mean, they didn't have a quarterback last year almost, and so Juju's sitting there, and all of a sudden he's gonna be productive. They added Eric Ebron. I mean, this offense is back to, being explosive. Even if Big Ben takes a step back from where he was, I mean, he's leaps and bounds better than Devin Hodges was last season. So I uh, I would think that the Steelers would be back, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's get into the
I
defense.
the defense is phenomenal. I think they've drafted really well. You've got TJ Watt up front. Um, Joe Hayden has obviously been a staple at their corner position, and then picking up Minka Fitzpatrick last year
Big.
was one of the biggest trades of all season. Um, we all knew the Dolphins were shopping him. He wanted to get out, and the Steelers made a move, and I think it actually made a huge impact. You've got Terrell Edmonds back there as well. Um, I think this defense is all around improved, and the Steelers have done a phenomenal job building and continuing to keep this defense strong.
Absolutely.
Um, we've got Cameron Hayward at the in the he's I'm not even sure how long he's been in the NFL, but he's been here a couple years, and he's been pretty freaking good for the Steelers. Um, TJ Watt is go. He's not. I don't know if he's as good as his brother, but he's he's pretty freaking good.
He
So
is. He is.
he's gonna keep this Steelers defense staying in that pass rush game. But I mean, this defense is gonna be just about as it always is. It's gonna be
Yep.
strong. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be that not as good as a steel curtain back in the day, but it's gonna be there.
There you go.
So
There you go.
I
This
I
team has
think
always drafted well. Yeah, Devin Bush is coming up, second year guy, middle linebacker. And they're stacked. So Minka Fitzpatrick, the addition last year that just adds so much to their defense. I think both of those guys at one point were like neck and neck for leading the NFL in turnovers. So I mean, yeah, this defense is, it's on its way too. So
it's always been solid, but I think they're doing a great job making it even better. Their pass rush is definitely there with TJ Watt on the outside. He's even a great zone guy as well. He's you know, but this offense is I really think going to be their Achilles heel, man. I think Big Ben. I hope the best for the guy. I hope he does bounce back and he does
hmm
well, and this Steelers team becomes what they usually are, and it's a playoff contender, and they're usually always fighting, and they're always in the run to make the playoffs. But I don't know if Big Ben can come back from
okay,
how badly he's struggled. I don't know. I wouldn't say his injury was pretty tough, but we will definitely see. A lot of guys always get hurt and they cut weight and they try to get fit, but sometimes it's too late, and I'm not sure it's early enough. I do think the Steelers team goes back to being 8-8. I
okay,
think they're a road team. I think they're probably going to stay there.
okay. How do you feel about James Conner?
James Conner, man, the guy is man at least a top 10 running back.
Okay,
Top 10 running back, no doubt.
okay,
Um, he has been a phenomenal guy. I think he actually got relied on a lot last year with Mason Rudolph running it. The Steelers kind of tried to turn into a run first team after they lost Big Ben, and
sure,
they obviously, it's the NFL. They catch on, and you can't run a one-headed offense. People are just going to rip it off, and
right.
you're stuck. But James Conner's been unreal for the Steelers. I think he's been a great and fantastic replacement for Le'Veon Bell. Um, and he proved that year one Le'Veon held out. So
Yeah, and he jumped right in, and they didn't miss a beat.
at all,
So hopefully, James Conner can, keep doing it and get back to being elite.
absolutely.
All right, man. Let's switch over to these Cleveland Browns, man.
All right.
I'm a sucker for hype, dude. I really am.
Okay. All right.
I'm a
Let's
sucker
see
for
what
the
you got.
Browns. I have been for a couple years. Ever since they drafted Baker, you bring in OBJ, man. There's so much hype, and I'm all about it. I want it bad. I think the best thing for the Browns this offseason, and I say this like not jokingly at all. I think the best thing for the Browns this offseason is we got a chance to forget about Baker Mayfield. He
Okay.
wasn't in the media. He wasn't doing commercials. He wasn't doing all that. The guy said early in the offseason, this season is about getting, or this off season is about, working. It's about getting ready for next season. And then he just now has kind of come out this week, now the training camp started and all that. And he's like, he kind of got lost in his own hype, lost in the 2019 hype. And so I hope, man, I hope Baker's the man there. And for Cleveland, I hope they can, everybody went into last year expecting, the Cleveland Browns to be a Super Bowl team. There
Absolutely.
were things that were missing last year. Say what you want about their head coach, their offensive line struggled. Hopefully, they've taken steps to address that, and hopefully they get back to that, or for the first time, get to that elite form as the Cleveland Browns.
I think I actually listened to Baker Mayfield's interview, and
Yep,
he, one thing you got to give Baker Mayfield credit for is owning up.
sure.
He does talk a lot, which a lot of football guys like that. I mean,
Sure.
what's wrong with talking in football? Like that's what talking crap is part of football. It's just a way of life, and he does it pretty dang
He
well.
does. He does.
I think last year was probably the first year he probably didn't back up much of what he said,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
but I think the guy owned up to it this year. He said basically, I believe I watched this. It was like 2 or 3 days ago now. He basically said that it was his fault and he was the heaviest he'd ever played at. He
Mm,
said that was the heaviest weight he's ever played at, and not having that mobility hurt him.
sure.
He owned up to saying that he was the heaviest he's been. He didn't hyper focus on football like a lot of young quarterbacks do coming out of the draft. He said that basically he kind of bought into the hype, and like you said,
Yep.
he bet on himself, and
Yep.
he actually kind of lost that bet. So I think he's out of the interview, he said that he kind of refocused, like you said.
Refocused. I think
He's done it.
that's a great word for Baker Mayfield. Refocused.
Yeah,
So, I love what the Browns did this offseason, man. We talked about addressing the offensive line. They went out and signed Jack Conklin from the Titans. He's a top 10 tackle in this game. He's going to play on the right side, what it looks like. And then in the first round, they drafted Jedrick Wills out of Alabama. He's going to play on the left side. And depending on what scouting report you looked at or who you heard from, he was arguably one of the best tackles in the draft. And then I have a bit of a dark horse, free agent pickup here. Austin Hooper is the tight ends from the
oh
Falcons.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
Austin Hooper for years as a Falcon has done nothing but be productive and consistent. Not a guy like George Kittle, not a guy like Travis Kelsey, but I mean you're talking right, the tier below that. I mean
Yeah,
this guy
I
has
think
done
he's people have always known him as a pass blocker and a run blocker,
okay.
but kind of like you said, he's shown that he can be productive in that
Yeah,
pass game.
absolutely. I mean he's like 75 catches a year. Every year you look at
Yeah,
his. I mean this
uh,
this dude just continues to do it. Uh,
75 catches as a quote unquote
right,
a
run blocker.
pass
So
runner or run blocking tight
yeah,
end. So,
yeah,
I believe if I'm not mistaken, he's a bigger body tight end. So he's
yep,
not necessarily like your George Kittle esque, but
yep,
he's just as big, but he's made for that run blocking. But
absolutely.
he can catch the ball, that's for sure. He's
Absolutely.
been
So
consistent.
you add the two tackles, you add the tight end, your run game's automatically better. So now you have Austin Hooper, you have David Njoku coming back, you have what you would consider a great 1-2 punch at tight end.
Oh yeah,
You look at OBJ, you look at Juice on the outside, Jarvis Landry, I shouldn't say Juice. And then you have um, name of the running backs just slipping my mind at the moment. You have Nick Chubb
Nick Chubb, yeah,
and Kareem Hunt at running back. I mean, is there a better 1-2 punch in the league? Kareem Hunt was suspended a lot of last season. I think it was for the first 10 games, so he kind of squeaked in at the back end of a ugly season for the Browns. But I mean, this guy was elite as a Chief. Ended up
yeah.
getting cut from that roster. But man, if this guy's back to form, I mean, watch out. I don't see how. There's too much talent here for Baker to fail. Like that's it. There's
Do you think that Nick Chubb? Because I personally believe, looking at the Browns roster, I think Nick Chubb takes over as a workhorse. I think he's going to be more of like a 1, 2, 3 kind of guy. I'm not sure. I think Kareem Hunt will be more of their screen game guy, what he's usually better at.
uh
Do you think Nick Chubb will? Well, I'm saying I think Nick Chubb is more of a pure runner.
okay.
I I think that do you think Nick Chubb will take over, or do you think they're going to kind of two
I
man this
no, I
backfield?
I think I think they're both too good to not play both of them. If you want to just look at it as save their bodies a little bit, don't
Yeah.
give one guy all the work. Kareem Hunt is a phenomenal running back himself. I do kind of like the idea of him being a better receiving option than Chubb. I think
Yes.
he's got a little more wiggle. You can talk about running routes and stuff like that. But I mean, Nick Chubb is, it's not to say he can't do that. But
You're
both of
right.
these guys are really good. I mean, we're talking about Pro Bowl caliber running backs out of both of them. So You use them both, and maybe they identify roles for him, yada yada yada. But I mean, you feed both of them. And then I want to look at this defense for a minute. I think the Browns have done a phenomenal job drafting their secondary. They started with Denzel Ward. He's come in. He's considered one of the best young corners in the game. Greedy
Yep.
Williams last year. And then in the second round this year, they got a guy named Grant Delpit out of LSU. Grant
Yep.
Delpit was considered, going into last college football season, he was considered one of the best safeties in the country. Played through some injuries, missed some open field tackles, yada yada yada, whatever it was. Ended up slipping to them in the second round. Okay, this guy is an absolute beast. Not necessarily Jamal Adams, in the box type of guy, but he's rangy. He'll play the back end. And then in the free agency, they picked up Carl Joseph, who is the in the box safety. He was a first round draft pick at one point for the Raiders. The Raiders let him go. He's now a Brown. He'll play around the line of scrimmage. So I think you've got a really good 1-2 punch there, safety. The corners are good. You've got Myles Garrett coming back. Myles Garrett, is one of the best pass rushers in the game. Um,
As long as he doesn't swing any helmets
Hopefully he
at
doesn't
people.
swing any more helmets.
Yeah, as long as it didn't dent
Yeah,
Mason Rudolph's head again, we're fine.
yeah,
But
that was
no,
ugly.
it was a bad look for him.
It
I don't
was.
necessarily know if that was like who he is. I think he got caught up in the moment and kind of paid the price for it. He really
He did.
did. People questioned his character after that,
He
which
did.
is probably one of the hardest things to deal with as an NFL player.
Sure.
But I do think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to have a much better season. I think we hope that incident kind of opened his eyes and he develops as a man and
Yeah.
becomes more
More mature.
more of a more mature is what I'm
More of a
looking for there.
leader. Sure.
Yeah, they need a leader up front.
Yep.
I do believe they need a leader up front, and he is absolutely talented enough to do that. He's absolutely how do you say more? He's got that alpha male mentality, so he can definitely be there for him. He's just got to show up and show out for this team, and he's got to keep his mouth shut and play ball, man.
Keep
He can
playing.
do it. We
Yeah.
both know he has. He's
Get
one of the
after the
best.
quarterback. Yeah.
Absolutely, one of the best get offs we've ever seen coming out the draft, and you know he's produced. He has produced pretty well for the Bengals. Oh my God, the
The
Bengals, the
Browns.
Browns. He has produced for them, but I think he could be a superstar
Yeah.
pass rusher.
Yeah.
But he's got to commit and he's got to mature a little
And
bit.
I know when they drafted Denzel Ward, kind of their reasoning there was like, hey, Miles Garrett only needs an extra second or so, and he'll have 20 sacks this year.
Oh
So
yeah,
they were hoping that, well, the secondary is even better now. And so
yep,
now it's, hey, Miles Garrett, shut up and play. There's nothing else to say. Go get you some quarterback.
yeah,
And then the last thing, they had two rookie middle linebackers last year, Taki and Mac Wilson. And if those guys continue to progress and get better, I mean, this team is loaded everywhere.
yeah,
And so they have plenty of young talent, plenty of guys that can get it done. Um, it would I If this team doesn't make the playoffs, man, I don't know. I don't know what
yeah.
to say. I mean, we don't know anything about football if this team doesn't make the playoffs, dude. I'm not sure. So
Yeah, this team is stuck with talent, and for some reason they've been struggling at the head coach level. For
sure.
some reason, they've struggled at the coaching level. That's hurt them a lot. I think consistency has hurt them a lot. You know, past 3 years have been three new coaches. This
Yeah,
is year three going on new coaches, new system, new everything.
sure.
That's tough to deal with as a player. We both know as former players, change is hard to deal with. As you've got new coaches to impress, you've got a new system to
New
learn. There's a
system to learn.
lot,
Yep.
a lot of new stuff, and at the NFL level, that's tough for especially young guys. And like you said, this team is very young. And so when you're changing all the time and you're not being consistent and you can't just master your skill at whatever we're running, I can't master this playbook because it's gone. I have to
Right.
learn a new one. I
Right.
can't master this defense because, you know, this coach wants this instead of that. You know, it hurts a lot, especially if you're young.
Sure.
You come into a team that has consistent coaches, consistency everywhere, and they know what they want and they know what they're going to get from you,
Mhm.
and you stay there 2, 3 years. You just look at his coach and you're like, hey man, I already know what you want. I got you.
Sure.
And that coach would be like, yeah, lead this team because that's what I've drafted you for. That's what I want you here for.
Right on.
You know? So I think they have everything. They just need a little bit of consistency.
Right on.
And if they can start, I think what hurts the Browns is they tend to struggle early and then they get down on themselves. And then people start doubting their coaches and then all of a sudden it just continues to snowball. It continues to snowball for this team. And if they can start with some success and kind of get rolling, this team definitely could be a 10-win team.
And they should
They
be.
have
I mean,
to
they
be.
should be. Yeah.
They should have been last year.
And they should be lighting up the scoreboard this year. I mean, you're talking about, an elite pass game and an elite run game here, right? I mean, they're a complete offense, right? They have two bookend tackles now. The tight ends are there. I mean, they're not missing anything. So
No.
there's no excuse. Stefanski will come in. I know he, like you said, another new head coach, all that. He
Yep.
ran a really good offense in Minnesota. It's plug and play. I mean, it's they just have too much talent to fail. Way too much.
Yeah.
So
And they've been shifting and shifting and shifting in that coaching position that I'm not sure if they're making the right decisions by shifting coaches, which they might be. Those coaches could be not a great fit for the Browns. Like they could just be struggling at that level because that's what the Browns aren't built for. They need a coach that is able to adapt to what they have and learn on the fly. And you know, obviously, veteran coaches help with that, but at the same time, you've got to be able to produce. And they gave his name's slipping me right now. They gave him a chance, the head coach last year.
Freddie
Um,
Kitchens.
yes, they gave Freddie Kitchens a chance, and he did not produce with all the talent around him.
Yeah.
Now he made big splashes. He really did. He brought in Odell. He brought in
Sure. Sure.
he put people around Baker Mayfield, and we really didn't get to see much out of this offense. They
Yep.
were pretty lackluster
It was
last
it
year.
was ugly at
Um,
times. It was ugly at times.
yeah,
For sure.
with an elite guy like Odell, you've got to build plays for him. You got to design things for him. He's an open field runner. He's unreal with
Yeah.
the ball in his hands. You just got to get it there, and his hands are like made of glue or something. Because I mean, as a Cowboys fan, you see that highlight all the
Hey.
time of him just reaching back, and the guys. You just got to get it near that guy, and he'll catch it.
Sure.
And Jarvis Landry's. They've already got the route running down. Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry were, I believe, roommates in college.
Yeah. Yep.
So I mean, there's no slippage there at the wide receiver position. They know what they're doing out
Yep.
there, and Baker by now he should know what they're going to do
Right.
without even saying anything.
Right.
As long as he's committed to as long as he's committed as he says he's committed, this team should take a leap
A
and
giant leap. A giant leap.
hopefully be at least a 10-win team.
Yeah.
What were they, 6-10? The exact opposite of what they probably should have been.
Sure.
So I mean,
Yeah, I'm
this
excited. Stefanski used Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs really well. And so
yeah.
he's got another 1-2 punch here in Cleveland that, you look at how productive those guys were. I mean, it should almost be a clone. And he may have a better running back in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt than he did in Minnesota. So I'm excited, man. I feel like I'm saying the same thing I said last year. We're going into,
Yeah, trust me.
I want the Cleveland Browns to be good, man. I'm ready.
I
Hopefully
I
Baker's
was on
that
the hype
guy.
train
So
too.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
I was on that hype train too, man. I was on that hype train too.
yeah.
It was. I mean, man, they made so many improvements everywhere.
I did.
So hopefully they can make it happen. But
All right, man. When it's all said and done, man, who's gonna win this division?
I think it's no question Baltimore takes this division at the number one spot.
Sure.
They'll probably. I think they'll probably go about what they did last year, around there, maybe 14 wins this year. But
Okay.
they're too good everywhere.
Okay.
They're too good.
Right on. I'd have to agree. I think until somebody figures out how to slow down Lamar Jackson, I don't think it'll be close. I think the Ravens are just they're too built, and they're only getting better. And that's scary. It really is. I do think 14 wins is a bit high. I think you have improvement in the Steelers and the Browns. And so I don't know if they can get to 14. I think you can say that the Steelers will get another, the Browns will get another off of them. But I do think that the Ravens will walk away with it. I do think the Browns will come in second this year,
Okay.
and then the Steelers will be third, the Bengals will be fourth.
I actually think this will be a very competitive division next year. So, but I do think the Steelers take this one in the number 2 slot.
Okay.
I think the Browns fall to 3. I think the new head coaches kind of hits them again. They're
Mhm.
probably gonna, unless these coaches, just get a grasp of this team and take off. I don't think they can take it to the second place spot in this AFC North.
Okay.
It's a tough
It
division.
is. It's a good division
If
for sure.
Big Ben returns to form like you say he will, Pittsburgh will take 2.
Okay.
Um, they've got enough everywhere. They've done a great job with that defense. So I think Pittsburgh will hold it down in that number 2 slot. I think Cleveland will make leaps and bounds, but they may be, if not the same record as Pittsburgh. But
Okay.
I do think they still sit in that 3 spot.
How many wins the Bengals gonna have?
The Bengals are probably going to have around 4.
4. Okay.
4 wins. Again, they've got Joe Burrow's got a lot of learning to do, and if he
Yep.
can't improve drastically this year, then he's going to struggle.
Okay.
And if that offensive line doesn't improve next year, he's going to continue to struggle,
Continue to
and it's
struggle.
just going to be that revolving door for the Bengals. It's going to be
Yeah.
rough for them.
And we've seen it
So,
for Andy Dalton, or from Andy
yep,
Dalton for years. He's thrown it all over the field. He, didn't have a team around him. So, new quarterback, same team there. Unfortunately.
yep, absolutely. One of the only teams you can say in the NFL that just almost looks the exact same.
Yeah.
Like every year, they just look like the Bengals, and
Yep.
there's not much changing. And that may change with Joe Burrow being a showman. I think he's kind of a showman, especially when he gets in the groove of things. But unless he can throw the ball and not get his jersey dirty, they're gonna struggle as well.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna struggle some more. Hopefully they can build around him. Hopefully they put an emphasis next year on putting pieces in front of Joe Burrow for sure.
Okay, so you think Baltimore won? You've got Cleveland
I've
making
got
it
Cleveland
making
too.
that huge leap,
A huge
making
leap.
that huge leap to
Yep.
2. Um, I think Pittsburgh takes 2, and then I've got Bengals at 3. You've got Bengals at 3 as well.
No, Steelers. Steelers at 3, Bengals 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steelers.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, same as well here.
Yeah.
But that about wraps it up, guys, for the AFC North. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and like, subscribe, and let us know what you think down below. We'll be posting all these videos in a continuous version, if I'm not mistaken, all of the AFC divisions together in a podcast form, as well as a NFC version. Thank you guys, and continue watching, man. We appreciate y'all.